Hi everyone, and welcome to Jerash, sometimes referred to as the Pompeii of the Middle East, due to the wonderful preservation of some of its ruins, and I hope to show you some of the highlights in this video. Jerash is located 30 miles to the north of the capital city of Amman, and the archaeological site sits near the centre of the modern city, which has a population of around 50,000 people. The site dates back to the Neolithic, with human remains dating back 7,500 years having been found here. It was a major Hellenistic and Roman site between the late 2nd century BC and the early 4th century AD. The town was revived during the early Byzantine era of the 5th and 6th centuries, then had a brief Umayyad occupation before being abandoned after major earthquakes in the 8th century AD. The site was first identified in 1806 and major excavations began between 1925 and 1934. The west side of the ancient town is now preserved as an archaeological monument. The portion east of the river lies under the modern town and remains unexcavated. We enter the site of Jerash through the Arch of Hadrian. This amazingly preserved monumental gateway was constructed to commemorate Emperor Hadrian's visit in AD 129. Through the arch on our left is the Hippodrome. This was also built during the reign of Hadrian and was built over an earlier Greek-style earth-banked racing arena. It had 10 starting gates rather than the normal 12 and was narrow by the standards of the time. It would have sat 15,000 spectators. Archaeologists have restored and reconstructed much of the Hippodrome, including a section of the tiered seating. A short walk leads us up to the south gate of the city, constructed in AD 130. Passing through the gate, we see the Sanctuary of Zeus on our left, which is the outside of the temple we will see later, and the remains of a souk or market buildings on our right. Navigating our way through the sanctuary leads us out onto the oval plaza. This is the only oval-shaped plaza ever found in a classical era city site and is incredibly well preserved. It was constructed in the middle of the 1st century AD and would have served as a marketplace. The original paving is still in place, and the full extent of the original columns have been re-erected, so we are seeing the plaza much as Jerash's Roman era residents would have. The town plan of Jerash dates from the early Roman era, with the Cardo Maximus or main street running north to south. The Cardo is 800 metres long, running from the North Gate to the Oval Forum. Beneath it is an underground sewage system, and at various places manhole covers can be seen, as well as the original ruts from the chariots and carts which used the road. At the intersection of the Cardo Maximus and the southern Decumanus, or east-west street, is the southern Tetrapelon, which is Greek for 4 gates. The central section of the southern tetrapelon was not roofed, but the column bases can still be seen in each corner. There are 2 tetrapela in Jerash. The north tetrapelon, which we will see shortly, is a roofed structure. Just past the tetrapelon is the cathedral complex, which was built during the Byzantine period. By the early 4th century, Jerash had a significant Christian population. Like many of the churches excavated in Jerash, this was built on top of an earlier classical era temple. Next to this is the Nymphaeum, which was constructed in 191 AD as a public water source and was fed from the main aqueduct which was originally built in 125 AD. What we see here is the western propylaeum, or entrance to the sanctuary of Artemis. We will visit the temple itself shortly. It was thought that the sanctuary complex was constructed around 150 AD. The entrance complex began at a bridge over the Wadi Jerash river, leading up to the eastern church next to the Cardo. The entire complex is over 320 metres long. Here we can see the north tetrapylon, with the north gate just beyond it. We now head uphill to the North Theatre. It was constructed around 130 to 140 AD, originally as a meeting place for administrative purposes. It was expanded in 161 AD when the Corinthian stage building was added to the front. A few years later it was changed again to become an Odeon, a small theatre for recitations, singing and musical performances. At this time an upper 8 rows of seating were added, allowing for up to 1,600 people to be seated. The theatre did also continue to be used for council meetings. The Odeon was used for its original purposes until the 5th to 6th century. The remains of 8 kilns have been found from the Umayyad period, which prove that potters had set up their workshops in the abandoned building before it was finally destroyed by the earthquake of 749 AD. Our next stop is the Temple of Artemis. According to coins minted around 67-68 AD, Artemis seems to have been the most important deity of the city. However, the temple complex dates from Jerash's heyday of the mid to late 2nd century. Here you can see our tour guide demonstrating how the columns were built to be able to move, which was an important design feature to protect against the frequent earthquakes in the region. 11 of the 13-metre high Corinthian columns of the structure have been preserved. Of the originally planned 32 columns, probably only 12 were ever erected, suggesting that the temple was never completed. Now we're entering a complex known as the Three Churches. These are the churches of St George, St John the Baptist, and the saints Cosmas and Damianus. The three were built side by side. They were built between 529 and 533 AD. The church of Saints Cosmas and Damianus was abandoned in the 7th century and was not repaired after earthquake damage, and the mosaics remained protected under a thick layer of rubble. Next up is the South Theatre. It was built between 81 and 96 AD and had seating for 5,000 spectators. There were 2 stories of seating, only one now remains, still enough for 3,000 people. It is still used today as a main venue for the Jerash Festival of Culture and Arts. In the seating tiers, some of the stone slab seats still have Greek letters engraved in them, remnants of the original seat numbering system. Our final site is the Temple of Zeus. We walked past the cryptoporticus structure on our way to the Oval Plaza earlier. Beneath this is a barrel vault almost 90 metres long. Above it is the sacred area or tenemos of the sanctuary. The temple on the top platform was built on the site of an earlier Roman temple. It was completed and consecrated in 162 AD. I hope you enjoyed our tour of the highlights of Jerash. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified next time I upload a video. You can also support my channel by buying me a coffee. There is a link in the description. Thanks so much and see you soon.